Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined by an amazing panel today, anchored by none other than Don Pizzette himself. Don, how you doing?
I am doing great. You know, starting to get into the holiday season, Thanksgiving right around the corner. It's time for some festive IT information.
Are you the kind of person, though, that puts like the tree up before Thanksgiving? And
No, very strict rules around that. You have to be after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, definitely. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir, for having me back yet again to ruin your podcast.
and where do you stand on when the tree goes up?
So
debate?
we typically do our tree like the next day, or
After Thanksgiving?
maybe that night. Just depends.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, just ruin the holiday on the holiday itself.
Yeah. Well, once you're fat full of turkey, you're just like, whatever, let's go get a tree.
Last thing you want to do is get up and get a tree. That's okay. And we are joined as well by our special guest today, Ellen Twomey, who is the founder and CEO of You Are Techie. Ellen, how are you today?
Great. Thank you so much
and,
for having me.
How many times have you listened to Mariah Carey's Christmas song yet this season?
0, because
Good.
I do not believe in Christmas carols until after Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Rules.
There you go.
It's so nice to have like-minded people on the show today, and we all agree on that. Cause
Welcome to the Technado echo chamber.
Yeah.
Don, this is the time of year too where you can't like even go into the grocery store because the cinnamon brooms, right?
Yeah. Fun fact: I'm allergic to cinnamon, and the cinnamon brooms are overpowering this time of year. Yep.
That's how Don gets out of grocery shopping for
assassin.
3 months of the year.
Any ninja assassin looking to kill Don now is like, I am filling my powder balls full of cinnamon. Pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, instead of pepper spray, it's
Yeah.
just cinnamon.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic.
Tasty.
Well,
Smells
Ellen,
great.
we want to. We've gotten off track already. It doesn't take long. Ellen, we want to get to know more about you, more about You Are Techie. So let's go ahead and jump in with our first segment, which is rapid fire questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Ellen, in this segment, what we're going to do is rapidly fire questions at you. You'll see a timer appear on the right side of your screen, and as it ticks down, you'll have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. If you take too long, Peter will buzz you. Like that, and we'll move on to the next question. We're going to rotate around, and I think we have a slightly different order today, but we are going to throw the first question from Peter.
All right. So I am curious. It's an interesting company name, You Are Techie. So can you tell us what the organization is?
Sure. You Are Techie helps moms and women gain the skills and confidence to get hired in tech. And yes, the name comes from something very specific. I didn't really intend to start the company. I started a Raleigh-based meetup in our local area to help moms understand about the opportunities available in tech. And they would come in with these ridiculous skills, capabilities, qualifications, experience, things like master's degrees in computer science, 25 years at IT. And then they'd try to convince me that they weren't really that techie. That's how they would say it, but I'm not really that techie. And being the bold personality that I am, I would stand up and shout across the table, "You are techie. Are you kidding me? I don't even have a master's degree in computer science." So I really saw this need to help women, especially moms, understand not only how to gain the skills, but then value their own skills that they already had and see themselves as techie.
So is this program geared toward people that are, or women specifically, that are already in IT and looking to go to the next level, or is it also for career changers?
No, so it's really more for career changers. And many of those women in the meetup were looking at different opportunities, or they had taken a break or something like that. So, that was a few years ago now. So in the program, it really is for career changers, and we target everything at moms, but we have about 30%, I call them non-mom women. We're very open to having them as long as they'll let us talk about our kids and the challenges there. But I really felt like solving the gender gap in technology could be done by bringing more women into technology. So that's kind of where that all came from.
Now, I know we've reported on it a few times here on the podcast, and before the pandemic, I really do feel like women in tech was a hot button topic. A lot of people had their eyes on it, and then the pandemic hit, and I think a lot of organizations have kind of drifted away. How would you say we've done? Like, has that gotten better? Are we seeing more women entering the field, or is it just really about the same as it was 2 years ago?
That's a really great question. I think it's a challenging one to answer because so many moms made the decision to stay home and to leave their work to help educate the children who were at home with them. I was in a unique situation where my children were able to stay in school because of they could space them out, and very rare. Most people, their children were learning from home. So there was, this mass exodus of women outside of moms coming out of the workforce. However, I do think it gave the opportunity for many moms to look at it and say, hey, I want something more flexible. And that's something that tech, specifically like agile team software development design, those type of positions offers them. So I would say we kind of took a step back and hopefully now we're taking a step forward.
So you may have kind of just answered the question I was about to ask about what are the specific...
Sorry about that.
No problem. What are the specific challenges that mothers face as opposed to just women or anyone else in IT? So that's kind of a new one with the pandemic of having to be home for school and those kinds of things. But are there other unique challenges that mothers face that other people trying to get into IT don't?
Well, I think it's a very valid question. And I would say to you, I don't know if other people face these challenges or not. I just know what my own experience was and what, the message that I can bring to more moms. I think the issue that I'm solving is that a lot of moms don't view themselves as techie. And they'll say things to me like, I can't even work the remote. I'm not techie. And I'm like, yeah, my 12-year-old works it better than me because he uses it more. That has nothing to do with being good at technology or not. It's really more about exposure and experience. So, the unique challenges I think too that moms face is that they're often looking at their skills as a mother and in the forefront, and their skills in the workforce in the background. And so that's kind of a point where I help them bridge that gap and understand which skills really are applicable in the workforce, whether they've been out of the workforce or completely as stay-at-home moms or in another industry and wanting to transition. For example, I have a lot of teachers come and they want to transition into tech. So that's kind of the problem I solve. So anyone who's looking to gain skills and confidence, I think, that's a valid experience that they have. And it's one that I had personally and like to share.
Fantastic. And one more real quick. I know You Are Techie has a podcast as well. What's a typical episode look like? Are you talking with moms? Are you talking with industry experts? What's that look like?
Yes and yes. So I have 3 types of episodes that I offer. One are people in industry who might hire someone of my moms, or can talk about their own career journey, or talk about opportunities in tech. Success stories. So women who have gotten hired out of our membership, and those are my favorite, I think. And then some solo episodes where I'm really trying to use my own experience and my relationships to educate the moms on what the skills that they already have, getting hired tactics, confidence gaining, and then most importantly, I like to talk about communicating their values, so understanding how they're building their skills and then applying that. It's funny, sometimes they'll learn something and then not even translate that into LinkedIn or into their portfolio, not understanding how valuable it is. And so that's another piece to the podcast. So kind of those 3 types of episodes.
I love how you call them your moms.
I know. My moms. I have lots of moms.
Oh,
yes.
moms do you have? Congratulations. That's got to be great at Christmas.
It's wonderful.
The shopping.
It's wonderful.
All right. Well, we want to find out a little bit more about what kind of led you down this path, and was it something that you faced in your career that you saw the need, or where that came up? So let's take a look at your origin story in our next segment.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
This is a pretty hardcore origin story.
All right, so I was looking down your LinkedIn, and I noticed, one of your earlier jobs was a position with women in science and engineering, and where you were kind of doing something similar, and then you took like a UX path and went back to school and stuff. So what led you back to this? What got you into wanting to help women and mothers get into IT?
Right. So the way I kind of describe my background, I I have an undergrad in computer science, so I come from like a traditional background, which about half of people don't. And so I worked as a consultant for a couple of years, and then I was a teacher, and I taught. So in that Women in Science and Engineering program, I was teaching girls in high school how to get into science and engineering. So technology specifically was my forte, but a few other engineering aspects. And then what happened? So I taught at a few different places, and then I had a baby, and then I had another baby. And so after 2, I decided to stay home with my kids, and then I had another baby, and then I had another baby. And so I had 4, and I stayed at home. I say I stayed at home for about 6 years, kind of in quotes, because I always had like a side hustle project going on. But I stayed at home, and what I realized is that when I went to return to the workforce, I wanted to return in tech, not in teaching. And I started overlearning. I knew 5 programming languages, and I learned another one to get hired in tech. Not necessary, really. Coming from someone who is super confident her whole life, I played football, I was class president multiple times. I'm not someone who really lacked in confidence, but what I was able to see is that I actually used overlearning instead of just having the confidence to leverage my existing skills to get into industry. And if someone who was kind of a naturally confident person my whole life, would do that, how much more so for someone who lacks confidence, doesn't come from tech traditionally. So that is why I originally started the meetup, and then created the company You Are a Techie from there.
So you stepped away from the industry for about 6 years, and I've talked to a number of people that have done that for similar reasons. Maybe they started a family, maybe they enlisted in the military for a period or something that caused them to.
Yeah,
prison.
Prison,
prison.
right.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a lovely tattoo you have under your eye there.
So one challenge people have though is that tech skills get outdated so quickly, right? Really, it's like 3 years for skills to become old. 7 years and they're obsolete. So what were some of the things that you did, or some of the things you encourage people to do to like try and keep their skills sharp? Or do you just not worry about it and kind of relearn when you're ready to go back in?
I would say that's a great question. The way that I view technology learning, and why I think so many of us struggle with it, especially women who've been teachers before, is that tech is not a checklist. It's a real world experience. And so the more real world experience you can get, the better off you're going to be. So that's really the perspective that I take. So when I'm talking about that overlearning thing, what I see is people taking maybe a $10 course here, a $10 course there, but it's this breadth that isn't helpful, as opposed to one path that gets them further and further along through this real world perspective. So that's really the lens that I encourage people to take. And I think as long as you're making progress on that one path, as opposed to this and that and this and that, you're going to serve your career well. And that's the path, that's the lens you want to stay on, regardless of how long it's going to take you or how you're staying up to date. And I think that through that lens, through that real world lens, you're going to get those and acquire those new skills, because that's what's going to be at the forefront.
Now, if somebody comes to you right now and they say, total career change, right? So they're in a different industry, maybe they're underemployed, maybe they've never been employed, maybe they got out of high school, started a family, and then now it's been 10 yeso and they decide
on parole.
On parole. They want to get in the workforce.
With the prison.
I feel like there's an untold story here, Daniel. So for somebody who just recognizes that technology is a good career field, what kind of positions do you steer them towards as that like first job moving into the industry? Mm-hmm.
So I will say that there are lots of great entry-level jobs in tech, many that require, less education, not necessarily a bachelor's degree. I specialize in those positions that are on an agile team, more of the design and the development. I've always been around software, those pieces together, and I really specialize in that area. Reason for that is, sysadmin can be great, but there's a lot of on-site work, and you tend to get more remote opportunities in the development environment. It's just greater. So those are the ones that I steer my moms towards, but that's not necessarily true for, for everyone. If you're coming out of college or if you're coming from a different industry. I think there's just a plethora. There's so many that one of the things that I do as part of my program that's helpful is really define specific positions like UX designer, like junior full stack developer, and help my members understand those specific ones. But I'll go back to what I said earlier, is that you pick one. It's really important to pick one and keep progressing towards that one, in narrowing it down, as opposed to just tech in general. You can always branch out, but getting that first job, I think there are lots of opportunities if you just stick with the one course and then learn into that point so you can be a valuable member and get hired.
All right, so if people want to find out more about You Are Techie, what's the website they can go to?
youaretechy.com, youaretechy.com. So it's all spelled out.
Perfect.
Yep. None of the you are type,
Yeah, you use vowels.
Stuff.
How innovative.
Yeah,
It's
we
got
use
umlauts.
vowels because I'm over 40, so we spell everything all out. Yeah, and techie is spelled with a Y just to annoy people because it really bothers them. So
Sure. Yeah,
we
that was
put
the
our
one part I was
unique
like,
stamp on it.
I guess we need to clarify that part because people could be putting an IE. Did you buy that domain too?
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, IE?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell. I can't share that. I can't disclose that information.
Oh, I'm totally buying that domain right after this.
Great. There's a court order.
I'm creating my dad's website.
Parole revoked.
and
People are going to associate me with the prison, and I have.
I don't know.
No
Hey,
time
listen, there's a
into
lot
it,
of
I
people
assure
that are
you.
trying to turn their life around. Just got out of prison. Tech might be a great job for
We
them,
saw the
It is.
6-year gap in your resume. We weren't sure. You're going with the kid story. I haven't seen these kids. Do the people have to come and bring the child to prove to the
Yes,
meetups?
no
and things?
proof necessary. No.
Your first kid's
No.
name is Warden. The next one, CO.
You're gonna get us in trouble. All right, and the podcast, that's on the website as well, where people can find that.
youaretechy.com/podcast, and we have a 100th episode coming up soon. It's going to be an incredible giveaway that we have. So a lot of members are going to want to check that out. Listeners, check it out, join it. The podcast is really popular, because you can get a lot of, just like you guys, you can get a lot of great free information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's it's a beautiful thing that people can get this information and learn more about their careers.
Fantastic. And I know we mentioned, or we were talking before the show, that you're up in the Raleigh area, but this is a website that is, nationwide, worldwide. It's not just geographic, right? Okay.
Yeah. So our membership, we offer a membership. And our first cohort, we had people from Amsterdam to Hawaii. So also have I've had no Australian members, but a lot of listeners. So we're mainly focused in the US, but this is really applicable all over the world. We found a lot of, the moms, they get hired, and it's really exciting. It's great. It's great to have a supportive community to go through this with. I think that helps a lot of people know that they're kind of on the right path. So.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue that's universal, so it would apply to moms everywhere. So that's fantastic. Well, we appreciate what you're doing, and we thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and joining us today to tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
All right, stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and discuss the news on Technado with Don Pizzette.
So Right Networks is an awesome company. We've developed a study group environment where we have small groups of 4 to 5 people in each of our office locations that meet once a week, and they talk together about what they're doing in their certification.
We developed a recommended reading list. We do a couple chapters each one, as well as the IT Pro TV videos.
Not only does our company provide incentives to take the tests, but we pay for the tests. We also pay for the time to study on the tests, and we give a bonus to the employees if they pass the test.
It's one thing to study for months on end toward a goal by yourself, but to have someone else with you, there's a lot of benefit of that.
All right, thank you so much to Ellen for joining us and teaching these 3 dads about the problems that
My 3 dads.
my 3 dads.
Yeah, it's an 80s sitcom.
Yeah, but that's the remake now.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
3
yeah,
dads.
that's right, because everything's a remake now.
That'd be fantastic. I can't. Who would play them?
I don't know. Let's see here. Paul Reiser, right? And
Of
then
course. Well, he's the granddad. Yeah.
The other guy.
They're still in it.
Steve Gutenberg.
Yes. Steve
Was that
Gutenberg's
Steve
still
Gutenberg?
alive.
Was that Steve Gutenberg?
No, it was Paul Reiser and some
Yeah, but the
other
other
dude. I don't know.
Oh, the long hair guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool dad.
The cool dad.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's get into the news while we think about who that third dad will be that they have added.
Tom Selleck.
And Tom Selleck. Now, that's 3 Men and a Baby now that we're
That's
doing.
right. I'm getting confused.
Same thing.
Mixing them all up. All right. Our first article today is from tomshardware.com. Oh, that's why you said Steve Gutenberg, right? Was he in
Tom's
3 Men and a
Hardware?
Baby?
No.
He was in Project Gutenberg. He was in 3 Men and a Baby and A Little Lady.
Okay. Anyway, back to
Totally
Tom's
off the
Hardware.
rails, yeah. Worst episode ever.
That's a very high bar to reach, actually. America's most reliable network. Nope, that's the Verizon ad on the top of the page. It's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
What's funny is I got a Verizon store like literally right next to my house. I ain't got crap for bars.
Fantastic. Can you get the Wi-Fi from the store?
I'm going to have to because...
All right, she hasn't started the clock yet on this 5 minutes of the article, which is good. And go. Microsoft launches Windows 11 SE and Surface Laptop SE. So this is both a hardware and a software launch. Then what is the difference with SE here?
All right, so SE is an all-new, heavily crippled version of Windows. Like, it goes beyond whatever
It's like
we've
my
seen.
Verizon signal.
It's impressive. Throughout the years, Microsoft has released a few versions of Windows that were designed for really low-powered systems.
RT?
Usually, yeah, like for emerging markets, these are popular in countries that don't have well-developed economies or used in schools where they need low-priced equipment. In the past, they've crippled Windows to make it where it can only run like 2 or 3 applications simultaneously, but otherwise it's basically Windows. They're going a slightly different tack this time with Windows 11 SE. It's that same idea of basically a free operating system that's built around a particular piece of hardware. So it's allowing them to release effectively a Chromebook competitor. So the Windows 11 SE Surface or Surface Laptop SE, that one is $250. Pretty inexpensive for a laptop, and it runs this special version of Windows. Now, when I say it's crippled, though, they have gone above and beyond. First off, you can't install software on it.
What?
It requires an IT department. You have to use special management utilities to push software to it.
So it's literally only for schools. It wouldn't be the thing you get for your kid to do homework at home.
Correct.
By special management tool, you mean Linux?
It's a group policy. You got to push it through that, or Windows Intune, or whatever Intune is now called, Endpoint Manager.
Whatever.
Whatever. But so you can't install software on it, and even your IT team, they're able to push software to it, but it's limited to certain things: content filtering apps, test-taking solutions, accessibility apps, apps that facilitate classroom communication, essential diagnostics, and web browsers. So
And
that's
TikTok.
It.
Just weird.
How fast can I get Linux on this?
So interesting. You can do that. It's actually not even hard to do it. But once you do, there is no way to reinstall Windows 11 SE. So
How fast can I boot it to a live Linux CD or disk or whatever?
you'd have to boot off a USB, but
That's
you can do
what I
it
mean, yeah.
instantly. Yeah, it is still an x86 processor, so it's not like an ARM processor, which is actually kind of neat. So a Celeron that's in it comes in a 4 gig and an 8 gig model. So it is designed to be a low-priced. These used to be netbooks. Then now we just call them Chromebooks in general. That's what this is designed for. But if you're excited and curious to learn more about Windows 11 SE, you'll probably want to take a pass on it unless you work for a school.
So when we say, Windows SE is launching and the Surface Laptop is launching, you can't get the Windows version without this specific hardware?
Right, but eventually Dell, Asus, HP, they'll release their own SE versions, or maybe they won't because Chromebook
pretty
sales.
invested in Chromebooks, yeah.
Well, Chromebook sales have been plummeting these last 2 months. Yeah, good. The pandemic is reaching its end, and so a lot of
want
people.
a real laptop now.
If you had a kid that had to work from home and you were not in a privileged family, then Chromebooks are the perfect solution. Yeah.
We got a Chromebook. What are you saying, Don?
Yeah. You actually have a Chromebook?
My daughter does.
So yeah, my kids have Chromebooks.
So there you go. I mean,
I'm not privileged. Yeah. She has to run on the treadmill to power it.
He took a shower at the bus station
in our dirt floor home. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reality is a middle school, high school, or elementary school kid, they're not going to take care of a laptop. You don't want to buy them a $2,500 Mac. Yeah.
She's asking for a Mac for Christmas. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, never.
I'm going to get a little sticker of an apple and put it on the back of that Chromebook.
There you go.
This is the new Mac.
Here's a Mac. It's from 00.
Yeah, I actually have an old Mac, like an old MacBook Pro at home from 2014. I was like, I could just put Chrome OS on this.
Or it's a knockoff brand like MACK.
Yeah.
It's a Mac.
Well, I used to watch those shows with her when she was younger, like the iCarly and stuff like that. And all those Nickelodeon shows, it was kind of like in the same universe, I guess. They all had Pear Pads and Pear phones. And they were like
really?
on
Instead
the
of
back,
apple?
it was a pear instead of an apple.
That's
but it was
funny.
like on all the Nickelodeon shows, they had the same technology, which was kind of cool.
Nickelodeon used to be awesome.
Yeah,
Used to be.
Used to be.
You get slimed all the time.
Yeah. It was so cool.
Good times.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, that's interesting. So, but more so if you're, in IT at a school district or something, that might be something to
That's
look
who
into.
it's targeted towards.
But even still, I feel like I'd want to wait till like Gen 2 or.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about a Chromebook, you can run Android apps on it, I suppose, but otherwise you can't install apps on a Chromebook. It's just limited to what's in the web browser, which you could effectively do with this too. So it really is kind of apples to apples. Ooh, not so much
Weird
Apple.
situation. I see what you did there.
I see what you did there. You.
Pairs to pairs.
All right, our next article comes to us from TechRadar.com. Tor Browser is getting a much-needed makeover, and this is the what we use on the dark web, right, to be anonymous.
Yeah, it's the easiest on-ramp to the Onion Router network, or the Tor project. If you want to get connected, you can do the command line client, build a tunnel up, and go through all that, or you can just download the Tor browser. It automatically connects, and now you're browsing with pseudo anonymity, which
Pseudo anonymity.
it's about as close as you can get for most normal people, I think. But one challenge that the Tor browser has had for a long time is that when you launch it, it's almost like you're stepping in a time machine to web browsers of 10 years ago. Visually, it's not that impressive, and it's missing certain functionality that people like to have.
It's got the Yahoo toolbar.
It's based off of Firefox, and
The old one, or I thought the new one is as well.
both of
are?
them.
Okay.
But the old one was based off of a obviously older version of Firefox.
Firefox 1.
And Firefox has really done some big changes over the last few years, and so now they're basically stepping up to that and bumping up to the new ESR version of Firefox. So that means that if you install the Tor browser today, or version 0.4.6.8 or higher, then you will see a much more normal interface, I think, which makes the Tor browser a little more user-friendly.
You don't want your browsers to look like they were ziplocked in 1998. And
So I remember when I first got on the World Wide Web, right? So when I started on the internet, the web was not a very popular thing. It didn't kind of exist the way that it does now. So one of the first browsers that came out was just called Mosaic, and it's what ultimately became Firefox through a circuitous route. Right. But the Tor browser didn't really look that much different from Mosaic from back in the day. It just, they weren't focused on it. They were focused on privacy and security.
It was function over form.
So now I think they've reached that point where they're like, well, we're pretty darn secure. Let's start looking at some of the other things we can do to make it better.
Well, good for them. It's about dang time, I'm sure, and everybody likes to have that pretty experience. As long as it shows me what web pages and I can find all the things I need to find, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, when I'm buying heroin in bulk and trafficking people, I want to have the best experience possible.
Yeah. I'll see you. Remember we were talking about prison earlier?
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, they won't catch me.
They won't catch me.
I'm on the dark web. You
I
see.
am anonymous.
I'm fully anonymous.
That's right.
I use my code name, which I will not tell you.
What's your Onion V3 link?
Don't even know what that means. I'm sure I'll be caught in about 5 minutes.
Oh, here comes the FBI now.
Like, you can't catch me. I'm on the dark web.
Yeah. I am under.
Oh, that might actually be something worth mentioning. You mentioned like Onion V3 links.
Yeah.
That they've been basically saying that they were going to discontinue V2 links for a long time.
Yes.
In this new version of Tor, they've finally done that and discontinued V2 links. So if you have anything with a V2 link, it will not work in the new browser.
Did we finally cross that threshold where V2 is like, hey, it was fun, but.
Yeah, this will officially kill it off.
Hey.
Like that's the end of it.
So in the Tor browser, do I need to open an incognito window and make sure I delete my history afterwards still?
If you run it in Tails, then it's
that's a little overkill, I think, at that point, isn't it?
When you're selling drugs on the dark web, there's no such thing as overkill.
All right, you got me there.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys sitting in prison saying, I wish I
if I
did
just
whatever with the
ran
Tails thing that he was talking about. So.
Gets a new computer every time he spins it out.
Hey, if you're selling drugs, you could probably afford that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you could probably pull that off.
Yeah, just watch season 3 of Narcos. Those guys could afford
Pablo
a new computer.
Escobar had some money.
Yeah, he had money that so much like it was rotting from having to bury it.
He's burying it all. Adam was telling me that they stopped counting it because it just took too long to count, and that they figured out how much money was in a fully loaded semi-trailer or one of those sea crates, and then they just weighed sea crates. To see how much money he had.
It's like when you get tickets at Chuck E. Cheese, right? They don't count them; they just weigh the bucket.
Same thing. They learned that from Pablo. Pablo
Drugs and
Escobar
Chuck E.
actually
Cheese.
owns Chuck E. Cheese. Or used to.
I can see that.
All right. We're just going off the rails totally in this episode.
As we should.
Next article is from securitymagazine.com. The new strategic direction for CMMC 2.0 is announced. And this is a term I had not heard until just recently for the first time, CMMC. But is this something that is pretty well known in the security world?
It's been around a while. Daniel, do you know when it came out? It's
I have
years.
no idea when it came out. No.
Yeah, it's been around a while. So CMMC, or the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, is a U.S. government initiative, and what they're trying to do is make sure that contractors that they work with meet minimum security requirements. And this is designed for companies that really do software as a service. So you have a software platform or an application that you're selling to the government to use, and they want to make sure that you're following industry best practices. Well, industry best practices aren't well defined, and so they created the CMMC, the maturity model, to be able to measure where a company was in terms of their maturity, and not like our immaturity, but like your cybersecurity stance. So, there we go.
Yeah. So we failed, by the way, just then.
Yeah, when you go to a government website, it's just fart noises.
Then you know we were there. So they created 5 tiers basically, and you could be CMMC tier or level 1, 2, and up. And this was all designed not for like secret information. It was controlled but unclassified information. So just sensitive data, not secret data. Well, the model's needlessly complex. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. It's difficult to define it. And so they've announced CMMC version 2, which is designed to be far more simple. It's reduced down to 3 tiers. The first tier, you can do self-attestation. Why do I have such a hard time saying that word? Self-attestment. There we go. And so self-attestation. Damn it. I thought I was going to get it that time. But we're
give him a
basically
fart noise. He likes those.
You can audit yourself. There we go. So you can audit yourself and then say, I attest that we meet these requirements, and I mean we're good. But then when you get to the tier 2 or tier 3, you actually have to go through some actual rigor. You actually have to have an audit done and all that.
Tier 2 is where you switch papers with your neighbor, and they grade your paper, and you grade theirs.
Yeah,
very similar.
And when you said you go through rigor, I just see us all getting stiff.
I almost made that joke, but I held back because some people could take that the wrong way. Some people get really excited about security. Now, another nice thing about this is they decided just to follow the NIST standards instead of defining a whole separate set, which is what they did in version 1. So if you do work for the government, or if you're for a private company but you sell to the government, this is going to be really important, because in a few years, probably in about 3 years, this will become a requirement for organizations that sell to the government. You will need to be at least tier 1 on the model. So version 2 is simpler, makes it easy to hit those goals. Not really any excuses now to just not get in there and do it.
It is kind of funny when you read through different regulations and standards and things, and they do tend to be a bit ambiguous about certain things that you would think they would be more detailed about.
Like self-attestation.
Which
Nice
you said
work.
correctly. Good for you. I told you, the fart noise gets him right on his game every time. So it's odd. Like I think first thing comes to my head is PCI, right? In PCI, they talk about doing a network vulnerability assessment to make sure that it's not a flat network, that there is segmentation, and can you reach into other areas. But how you do that is not described, and that can I ping? And if you can't ping from one network to the other, cool, you win. You've checked the box, and you're secure. Right.
Yeah.
Like, so weird that they would leave that a little ambiguous and not be more distinctive, make it really easy to follow, give me something I can sink my teeth into so that we can do this.
Yeah, and this is just more of, they recognize how dangerous it is out there. These attacks are happening unchecked, and we just need to make sure that everybody's doing their due diligence, and this is a part of it.
All right. Fantastic.
Good talk, everybody.
Yeah, no, I feel a little bit smarter now. Which isn't saying much. All right, our next article is one of our favorite segments, Do.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so do.
Because this is one of those, facepalm things here from arstechnica.com. Apple isn't actually patching all the security holes in older versions of macOS. And that wouldn't be an issue except for the fact that these are supported versions of macOS still. And so if you... I was talking about my old laptop at home. I can't upgrade that one anymore, but I think it's still on a supported version right now. But
sure,
I'm vulnerable then.
So Apple, a lot of people praise Apple for how well they support older hardware. Like you'll get updates on your iPhone for years and years versus like an Android phone where you're lucky to even get 2 years of support out of
Well,
it.
they give you that update where it slows your battery down, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes they do that.
Yeah.
But you do get updates nonetheless. On their desktops and on their laptops, you get updates for many years. It's not uncommon for them to still, at least from software, support hardware that's 7 years old. But on their operating systems, they go back 2 versions. So there's whatever the current version is and the 2 previous ones that they still push updates for. So that means you don't have to rush to do an update update to the newest version of macOS when it drops. And Peter, you've learned over the years, like when a new version of macOS drops, you don't want it day one because it breaks most of everything.
Any peripheral device or software use. As long as you're only using Apple software and you're not plugging into anything, you're fine.
All good.
So for most of us, though, we had that safety net of, hey, I don't have to upgrade to Big Sur because it just came out. I can stay on Catalina because Apple still supports it. However, security researchers found that while they are still supporting the older OSs, they're not doing a good job of patching them. And one example they found was where a particular 0-day was patched in Big Sur, but the same patch was not applied to Catalina until 234 days later. So that's a huge window of vulnerability, and this was something that was being exploited in the wild. So for 234 days, people running macOS Catalina may have thought they were secure, but they were vulnerable to an exploit that Apple not only knew about, but already knew how to fix. They just didn't do it. This is a pretty big black eye for Apple's security posture.
Now, I thought there was a security update for every hardware run, Mac hardware, which is Linux.
That was your same answer to the Windows
I know,
problem.
it's weird
from
how
before.
that keeps popping up.
Well, maybe if you have an Intel-based Mac, but if you got an
not
M1,
those M1s,
yeah,
not
it's
yet,
not
yet.
ready yet.
But nothing works on the M1s except Apple stuff at this point. So
Apparently
Actually,
not.
I did have a chance.
Apple Utopia he was just talking about.
I did have a chance to mess with their x64 emulator.
Oh,
so
yeah?
when you run an app that's Intel based, it'll actually emulate and run it. It
does
runs
pretty
well.
good?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not for virtualization software, but
Right.
other
Other
things
things,
run
yeah.
fine. But yeah, so this is just a big warning for people that in the past you may have hesitated or even said, hey, I'm going to skip this OS and I'll wait for the next one. Because Apple does release every year, which is a little bit annoying. But
That is annoying.
if you've been holding off, you may actually want to step up a bit because Apple's not focusing on those previous OSs.
I mean, you only spent $2,000 on the device. You only wanted it for a year.
$2,000? You got
or
the
two.
base model?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm trying to
You didn't get the wheel
the
kit?
everyman's Apple is.
I wish I was joking, but I think the MacBook Pro's base model is.
Yeah, it's like $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much was the wheel kit on that?
$900.
I remember that.
I think it was,
that article.
wasn't it 400 for the wheels?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I thought it was more. I thought it was
It may
900.
have been per wheel.
Maybe that was if you got the polishing cloth with it.
Oh, yeah, that thing. will set you back.
Polishing cloth.
I actually know someone that bought that.
Are you kidding me? No.
So apparently on Apple's website, it's the only thing back-ordered right now. People have been making jokes about it, like the supply chain.
Yeah.
It's finally hit big polishing cloth. Yeah. That's what I've been worried about. Hey, there's a term in this article that there's a lot of terms I'm not familiar with, but at the top it says 0-day or end day. What's an end day?
So a 0-day is one that they've discovered that nobody knows about yet, right?
Yeah.
So this has not been known in the wild. But when you talk about an end day, that means it has been known for a certain number of days.
So we're saying
right?
if it's
So it could be-
234 days, they could have patched, but
But at that point, the interval doesn't really matter. It's just
Right.
any number of days.
We know, and it hurts. Please make it go away.
So it's like n in algebra. Okay, got it.
It's a variable.
It's variable.
It's a vegetable.
It's a vegetable. It's a mineral.
Is it bigger than a breadbasket?
Yeah.
All right. Our next article is we're taking a look at who got pwned this week.
Looks like you're about to get pwned.
Fatality.
Yeah!
All right, this article comes to us from Fox News, so I assume it was the liberals that were pwned. FBI aware of and investigating fake FBI emails sent to thousands.
So yes, then.
the FBI. The fake emails hit over 100,000 inboxes, and I love that the FBI is investigating their own. What happened to I guess I just have to go down to IT and arrest that guy.
Yeah.
Is that what I do?
Arrest me?
So this is people last week or a couple weeks ago were getting emails from at ic.fbi.gov legitimate email accounts. And do we know how this was happening?
Yeah, so really interesting, and I can report on this firsthand because I received the email.
You're one of
so
100,000.
I was part of the
Look at
thousands, which really highlights something a lot of the
Are you
articles.
on like some sort of FBI list or something?
Well, interesting you should ask. The attackers that pulled this off, so this was actually fairly sophisticated as far as attacks go, and it's just bizarre. Actually, let me back up. Let me walk you through what the experience was like from my end.
Okay.
Because so I'm the CTO for an organization that is fairly public. People know my name. If you want to
Committing
figure
a
out my
lot
email
of federal
address,
offenses.
it takes 2 seconds. And so I get phishing attacks. I get spear phishing, like specifically crafted to me, on a weekly, if not daily basis. So I am constantly receiving that. So on Saturday afternoon, I get this email from the FBI. Now, I don't get emails from the FBI a lot, believe it or not. So immediately I just assume it's a scam thing. And so I start to read it. And when I read the message is so ridiculously over the top. It's just crazy. So you immediately knew it was a scam.
Yeah.
In fact, here, I'll just read it. So this is the actual email that I got. It says, our intelligence monitoring indicates exfiltration of several of your virtualized clusters in a sophisticated chain attack. We tried to black hole the transit nodes used by this advanced persistent threat actor. However, there is a huge chance he will modify his attack with fast flux technologies, which he proxies through multiple global accelerators. I could probably stop here.
Yeah. I know all those words are real, but does that make sense in context?
So many buzzwords. And then it goes off the chain with, we identified the threat actor to be Vinny Troya, whom is believed to be affiliated with the extortion gang, the Dark Overlord. We highly recommend you to check your systems and IDS monitoring. Beware, this threat actor is currently working under inspection of the NCCIC. As we are dependent on some of his intelligence research, we cannot interfere physically within 4 hours, which could be enough time to cause severe damage to your infrastructure. Stay safe. U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Love
Cyber threat
FBI.
detection.
Yeah. Hugs and kisses.
So that is the email verbatim. I just read the email as I received it on Saturday.
It sounds like your mom wrote it to you.
I think I was telling you earlier, Daniel, like this would have fit perfectly on the set of like NCIS or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
all my proxies.
Yeah.
All the buzzwords
Get
jammed
here
together.
on this keyboard, which will use one keyboard with 2 people.
And Vinny Troya is a security researcher. He's given talks, so I guess trying to portray him as a rogue. Maybe this was somebody with a vendetta against him. But so I was not worried about this when I got the email. But I did think it was interesting because it was missing some of the red flags that I normally see on these emails. So it came from an FBI.gov address, but it didn't get rejected. And so just on a whim, I was like, I wonder if they've got their SPF records or DKIM, DMARC, all the email protection stuff in place, which of course the FBI does.
So Don responded with his private keys.
So then I just got curious, like, how did they send this email, obviously forged a domain, without tripping all the alarms? And so I dug into the email header, and it legit came from the FBI. So as fake as this email is, an attacker found a vulnerable server at the FBI that they were able to relay email messages through, and they relayed this message through it. So it passed all of the email checks. It even passed the spam filter, got right to my inbox, which is a pretty big accomplishment. And it made me wonder, why did they waste such an opportunity with something so stupid?
Yeah, this is like just a prank.
Yeah, that's what gets back to me. Like, was there a call to action of
no call to action whatsoever. And so that's what made me go and do a little more research. And that's when I found out something interesting that doesn't seem to be reported on a lot. Not a lot of people got this email, right?
Right, only 100,000 people.
In the thousands, 100,000 maybe. And of the people that got it, they're almost all well-known system administrators or technology managers, CTO, CIO. So the attacker had built a list of people that were viewed as valuable targets, right? Which maybe they were wrong on mine, but the rest of them were valuable targets. And so it just shows that somewhere out there, I'm on a list that says this is a technology person and might be a valuable, might be able to expose other credentials if we compromise his account. So the FBI is kind of wiping a little egg off their face this morning or earlier this week, and they've already kind of shored up that one system that was compromised. So it was a subdomain, ic.fbi.gov. So it was part of an authentication system.
Yeah, so they don't have to actually gain access to the mail server. You can gain access to any system and then just route the email through that?
Right. This was an authentication system. So, it would like kick out a verification email, and they took advantage of that. And so that's why I was able to go through the legit mail servers and pass all the legit checks, because it used the legit systems.
That's kind of funny. I mean,
I once again want to just take this opportunity to offer my services to any of these malicious actors out here that I will.
I believe
you
that's
send me
illegal.
your copy. No, that's fine. That's fine. You send me your copy. I will rewrite it for you. In American
For a
English.
Low price of like
20%.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that would be aiding and abetting.
It's a gray area.
I haven't done it. I've just offered to do it.
I mean, if you don't care about your right to vote or own firearms, then it's good business.
Here's what you do: is you just send me what you think would be a good phishing email, and we'll talk about why that's not.
And Don, I don't vote, and none of my firearms are legal.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I sold a pair of bar stools on Facebook Marketplace this week, and of the maybe 6 interested people, 3 were clearly scams because I would be like, oh, sorry, someone else is coming to pick them up. Great, can you send me your phone number? I'm like, first of all, you clearly didn't read my email, but second, but all these people, it's just so easy to tell right away it's a scam. And
I'm going to send you a money order for $2,000, and then if you can just bring the rest of it back to me, I trust you.
I'm going to have like a registered letter sent to your house. It's going to have a check in it. You fill the check out. It's like, what?
I did that one time. I went down the steps. This was years ago, actually, when I worked somewhere else, because I had it sent to the company just to see. And a FedEx came, and it looked like a check, except it was just copy paper. There was no perforated part, and the signature was like typewritten and stuff. And then I got the email, oops, my secretary sent it for $1,500 instead of $150. Can you send me the difference? I'm like, no, it's fine. Just send me a new check. I'm cool. Just wanted to see how long I could mess with this guy, but yeah. Well, anyway, I'm here. I'm available for 1 Bitcoin.
So
for what?
I know in the past when we've reported on like cloud outages, I've said, hey, if you have a network outage, don't feel bad. Even the big boys have that happen, right? Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they've had their outages. Well, if you're on the cybersecurity side and you accidentally expose a vulnerable system, even the FBI's had it. So it's
try that line with your boss. Yeah. See how far that gets you.
Know that you can get a job at the FBI.
Yeah, exactly. Because one is open now.
Yeah, I bet.
All right, I want to let you know about a couple fun things going on. First of all, it is almost time again for our 12 Days of IT, where we are unboxing 12 different IT gadgets, and we are giving them away in a YouTube Live at the end. So we'll have 12 different videos leading up to, let's see, that starts on November 29th, and then on December 10th, we're going to be doing the live event where we give out all the items, not to give any of the items away, but I think on TikTok, if you follow our IT Pro TV account, we did a little preview, so you can check out some of the items there. But head over to go.itpro.tv/12 days, and you can register to win, and you'll be put in the raffle, and then watch the YouTube Live and see if we call your name, and you get one of the cool items. So keep it for yourself. Give it to the IT Pro in your life, whatever you want to do. That's your call. Also have a webinar happening later today. This podcast comes out on Thursday, November 18th. So at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we're doing the Cloud Data Protection on AWS webinar, where we're talking about best practices for staying secure on AWS with Tracy Pierce, who works for AWS, so she'll be able to give us the inside scoop. Don't worry, if you are listening to this after that fact, we will also have it on our website very soon. Head over to itpro.tv/webinars. You can sign up for it if it hasn't happened, or you can check out the archive of that a couple days after it takes place. So itpro.tv/webinars is where that's at. And finally, head over to technado.com, and you can check out all of our episodes. You can subscribe. You can send in viewer or listener mail. You can tell us, I don't know, what should they tell us this week? If they put your tree up yet, let us know. And
where do we draw the line?
Yeah. Where?
When does it end?
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? The answer is yes.
Fact.
Yeah, I also get mad at my neighbors because you're supposed to leave the lights and stuff on until January 6th.
I didn't know it was the 6th.
That's when the wise men came or something, which I don't know. That one came by like bullet train or something, because that's very fast.
So last time I checked, the wise men took a couple of years to get.
Well, it might have been January 6th a couple years later, but it's
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
Feast of the Ascension or Feast of something.
So your lights stay up year-round then.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So rednecks have had it right all this time.
Exactly. But yeah, so anyway, while you're on technado.com, there's a big orange button in the corner that says sponsored by IT Pro TV. Check that out, and you can get 30% off of the lifetime of your personal membership to IT Pro TV. You can also request a team trial and find out all the great features available to teams from IT Pro TV. All right. That should do it. And we still will have an episode next week, which is Thanksgiving week here in the United States. So, all of you Australians who are like, hey, we're not off, don't worry. New episode coming. Anyway, we have a lot of Netherlands viewers.
Do we really?
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought of a good call to action for our viewers. I've noticed that we haven't had a lot of WTF articles, so the crazy off-the-wall tech stuff, and usually the holiday season brings them out. So if you spot any articles about weird wackiness in the tech world, make sure you submit that.
I like the tinfoil hat stuff too. That's pretty fun.
Well, last year I don't know if it was WTF or tinfoil hat, but we talked about someone selling around the holidays, like there was a lotion or something that you could stop 5G.
I know there was that USB key.
There's the USB key. Yeah,
it was
like
one that
holograms.
Milkshake Duck or whatever. That was a good one too.
Milkshake Duck. Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. There was the guy in the UK, the taxi driver that locked a terrorist in the car, so his explosion happened in the car as opposed to where he wanted to do it. And I'm like, oh, this guy's a hero. And I'm like, in 5 days it's going to come out. Oh, turns out, here's the Twitter messages he sent to children or whatever.
Oh, goodness gracious, yeah.
And that's a milkshake duck.
That's a milkshake duck.
If you have not heard that term. But we have a segment for that too. So if you're aware of any milkshake ducking, let us know too at technado.com.
Like how you verbed that.
I don't know if that's right, but it's a weird enough word in its own. So, all right, guys. Well, good episode. Thank you so much to Ellen Twomey for joining us, and thank you all for watching. And we'll see you next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.